I can't look at that. This woman is sick. The audacity! Am I gonna get through these journals? Somebody told me earlier that the Ruby Franke journals were released. If you saw the earlier video during her arrest, you actually saw a moment where one of the officers was going through the evidence, wearing her blue gloves, reading the journals, and what we're gonna see are the contents inside of those journals. Now, this is a developing story right now. If you're new here and you don't know, I'm BOZE. I'm just a guy. I'm a guy that's intrigued by the cases. I watch this stuff all the time, so sometimes I'll break things down for you kind of like in layman terms, but like I've said before, I am not a psychologist. I am not an attorney. I like to leave that up to these folks, so we're going to be watching Law and Crime since this is a developing story. It hasn't finalized in court yet. Nothing is solid, so I'm going to leave it up to the pros. But if you don't want to watch it alone, you are welcome to come with me. But I've heard that what's in the journals is honest about a lot of the things that happened and like quite frankly disturbing. But we are investigating. Let's take a look.
Ruby Franke, the former YouTuber turned convicted felon, now serving prison time for abusing her children in the name of religion. Franke documented it all in a journal, and we have the disturbing details in her own words.
Okay, sorry. Already having an issue. The beginning of this journal, which by the way was just a month before she was arrested on August 30th, it says redacted, turns 12 tomorrow. I never envisioned him being 12 and still pooping / peeing himself. Satanic choices led to one being destitute. If your child is peeing and pooping themselves at that age, it's because they're being abused and they're scared, okay? And considering you're their caretaker and we know all this information now, the audacity. Am I gonna get through these journals?
We have the disturbing details in her own words. Thanks for joining me for Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. If you thought that the abuse that Ruby Franke's children suffered was bad, I can assure you it's much, much worse than anything that you imagined. Franke documented the abuse and justified it by claiming the journal starts in May of 2023 with a note stating that Jodi Hildebrandt received a blessing from a temple president. What that blessing was and what it pertains to is somewhat unclear.
A blessing from a temple president? Lord, my religious trauma is coming out right now. A blessing from a temple president. You mean a man said some words to you? Is that what the fuck you mean, Ruby? I need my crucifix. Hold on. I know where it is. Also, if you're new here and you don't know me, I was raised very, very religious for many, many years of my life. I have a lot of religious trauma. However, I still have a lot of Christian morals. I like it, okay? I feel like it keeps me on the right path. And like, look, here's the thing. I don't follow any religion. I don't follow Christ. I don't follow anything. However, if you're religious, we would probably get along. As long as you're not like mad at me for not being religious. That's the vibe. Okay, let me see if I can get through this.
What that blessing was and what it pertains to is somewhat unclear. In late June, Franke wrote that her son refused to do wall sits. The following day, Franke wrote that the boy is to stay outside, sleep outside, only to come in to use the bathroom and shower. After that, several pages are black. They're redacted, so there are pages and pages of information that we're not seeing. The journal picks up in July as Ruby Franke's journal details the horror that her 12-year-old son and 10-year-old daughter endured over the next 3 months. I won't be using their names as they are the victims of horrific abuse. Franke wrote about her son. Turns 12 tomorrow. I never envisioned him still being 12 and pooping and peeing himself. Satanic choices leads one to become destitute, even in the most affluential homes. Then the next day, on her son's birthday, Franke wrote about her daughter and son being in so much deviant behavior, they won't control their bodily functions. They're both furious. Their selfish, sinful lifestyle is being intervened upon. I told R he emulates a snake. He slithers and sneaks around looking for opportunities when no one is watching, and then he scurries. If he wants to emulate the Savior, then he needs to be 100% obedient.
She's literally describing an abused child, like peeing and pooping on themselves and scurrying around. Sounds like a scared child, causing these issues in the children and then complaining about it while comparing them to religious concepts. This woman is sick.
Ruby Franke then said that her son lies all the time. He's a compulsive liar. This entire experience is a shock to my system. She wrote that her son has a cold, dead heart, and he's always been able to get what he wants. On July 14th, Franke wrote that her daughter, quote, refuses to work.
It's a child!
Has her hair shaved off. Franke repeatedly shaved her daughter's hair when she didn't comply with her demands throughout the summer. The girl was only 10. Can you imagine? You shave off your daughter's hair because she refused to work.
Shaving a young girl's hair like that, cutting her hair, is usually a form of control and also a way to suppress their femininity in a sense. Sometimes men in like domestic abusive relationships, they will cut their wife's hair to try to make them feel ugly or to control them or to do something. And for a mother to cut their daughter's hair as a form of punishment in their formative years is shocking to me, and I have no idea what the result of that is going to be.
This was just the beginning of the summer of hell for these kids. Franke said she told her son that he needed to divulge everything, that he needed to pray and to fast. He's workable and calm for a bit, and then angry and defiant the next. The only consistent thing about R is that he lies. That's what Franke wrote about her son. She followed up by writing that her son told her he would rather have a glass of water than have her as a mom. Ruby Franke then described July 11th of last year as a big day for evil.
I don't read this. Big day for evil. Blank manipulates me. She won't scream when Jody is around, but with me, she wails all night. Blank screamed, cried, and would hit her head on the tile floor. Today, Jody confronted her, admits to putting on a show for her mother, says that she wants to be pitiful. Blank was told to stand in the sun with his sun hat. He is defiant.
At one point, Franke wrote, "The kids need a good kick from a horse and a cactus to run into."
What in the
There were times when Franke and Hildebrandt placed Franke's daughter in a closet and refused to give her water if she screamed. Quote, she screamed for another family. Water.
When the police came and saw her daughter in the closet, I guess they had cut her hair off and she was emaciated. They thought she was a little boy. The video you just saw, that's what the early responders thought.
A manipulative ploy. You are loved. That's what Ruby Franke wrote about her 10-year-old daughter. The girl was also made to jump into a cactus. We put her in the closet to contemplate what to do. She screams much of the day. She doesn't get water if she screams. She refuses to eat. The next day, she wrote, Jody wakes from a dream. God lets her know that we have done everything we can to get her attention. They also forced the children to pull weeds from a cemetery.
I can't look at that. That's the actual footage. Vinnie Politan was right. It's like hard to imagine that a parent would do this. Does anyone else feel almost a sense of confusion, like a sense of dissonance, like they can't connect these things happening? Like, not only was she like the mom, but also she had this false persona online that she was a good mom. And here it is. We see the journals. We see the video. The children that have literally been emaciated and abused and wounded. And still there's this like dissonance in your brain of like, oh my God. We're lucky that the children are still alive.
On August 27th, toward the end of the children's torturous captivity, Ruby Franke wrote about her son. Spent the 22nd through the 25th peeing and pooping. He is out of control. He is defiant, abusive, mean, willing to try anything that would grab his attention. I whipped him with a belt yesterday. E2. Franke then said her daughter peed all over Jody's garage floor, screamed at her and lied to her. She is out of control. The 12-year-old boy escaped from Hildebrandt's house and went to a neighbor for help.
I really don't need to hear any more than that. That was really hard to listen to as is, but also I do think that there's a sense of importance of understanding the severity of this and not just glossing over it because it makes us uncomfortable. Stuff like this is still happening in religious communities. Stuff like this is still happening with these mom influencers. It says a lot that Ruby wrote all of this down because she really genuinely believed that she was not in the wrong. And that to me is extremely disturbing. Guys, I don't know about you, but I need a little justice. It's been a lot all this week with everything coming out. I need to see Jodi Hildebrandt panicked and getting arrested.
Wait a minute, how do you come to my house?